departmentization. So thank you so much. So today we shall start with controlling. Then we shall go to directing. Other people call it leading. So what is controlling? It is one function of management. What is this controlling? Last time we looked at planning, which is coming up with objectives, or rather drawing a roadmap, what you want to achieve. And we said planning is always done, it is done before an event takes place. Then we talked of organizing, whereby you have to allocate tasks to individuals in order to make the achievement of those goals easy that you set in planning. What about now controlling? So controlling is measurement of accomplishment against standards and the correction of deviations, if any, to ensure achievement of the organizational goals. So there you set in planning, you had set your goals. And I remember us looking at various types of plan. I can take an example of the plan that we talked about, the budget. The budget as a plan and how control comes in. So you have set up a budget of maybe 2 million. That is the planning. But during the course of your doing work, you realize even you are not halfway the year and you have already spent over 1 million. So control is whereby you check whether you are doing the right thing, whether you are not going over or you are not going out of what you had planned. And in case you see some deviations in whatever you are doing, you try to correct or to come back to the track. So that is to control, to check whether you are moving towards the direction that you had planned. And in case there are deviations, you try to come back. So the purpose of controlling is to ensure that everything occurs to conformity with the standards. I'll tell you what a standard is. A standard is the accepted measure, and you can have various standards for various types of work. It is something that is acceptable, and if you have performed to the standard, that is satisfactory. If you perform below the standard, then that is unsatisfactory. If you perform above that standard, then that is, we can say, even excellent. So standard is a measure that is acceptable, and you can have various standards for various kind of jobs. For example, like for salesmen, we can say for this person, for us to say this person has performed well, the standard is 10 units per day. It's 10, the standard is 10 units per day. So if the person is able to sell 12, it is acceptable. But when he sells less than that 10, according to now, that is how you do with the plans. You have a standard. A standard is what you had planned. So if you are able to achieve that, you have achieved your plans. But if there are deviations, either you underachieve, that is now when you need control to bring back you back to the track. So let us go through the control process now that you have known what is a standard and what is control. Control process. The basic control process involves these steps. One is establishment of standard. Remember I said these standards may differ from one job to another. the first step in the control process would be to accomplish the plans. Because of course the plans that you have set are your standard. That is what you say when you are planning. You are saying this is what you are able we shall be able to accomplish. So we can take whatever you had planned as standards. In this case, although standards can be different, plans can be considered as a criteria or standards against which we compare the actual performance in order to figure out the deviations. So we cannot use plans as a standard of measure. For example, I remember giving you an example with a budget. You understand this is what you are going to spend on recruitment of employee. This is what you are going to spend on training of employees. So that is a standard. If it is almost the end of the year and you have not spent any money, you check that against now the plans or the budget that you have done. If you have overspent, you have spent so much, and you almost you are not even near the end of the year, then you start controlling. That is why now we said we can use plans, and I've given you an example of a plan like the budget. I remember we covered many types of plans. So the first step is coming up with the standard. After you come up with the standard, you go to step number 2, measurement of the performance. Measurement of the performance. So this is just checking or measuring the performance against the standard now. It's like now the way I was telling you, the budget is saying 2 million, but how have we performed? Ours is already 2.5 million already. A measurement of the performance so that deviations may be detected in advance by appropriate actions. So there's a way even you can be able to tell we are really not going in a proper way. We are really getting out of hand. So if you realize that, you try to come up with preventive actions, or you try to find ways of coming back to the track before things get out of the hand. So that is what it says. The second step is all about measuring performance. Even I've given an example there. The degree of difficulty in measuring various types of organization performance. Of course, we have given an example here. It is more difficult to measure the performance of a highway maintenance worker, the person who is always checking on maybe, like taking an example of the person who repairs the road, the tarmac. It may be very difficult to measure the performance of this person because at times these portals, it may do their work, then a big truck comes and the road goes to the original, or it gets destroyed again. It will depend on many other factors, maybe the heaviness of the vehicles that are passing by the road. So that is why we are saying it may be more difficult to measure that, the performance of this person, than measuring the performance of a student enrolled in a college. Measuring the performance of a student may be easy because you can see maybe the pass mark is 40. But in this case, maybe majority of the students in a CAT, they have scored so highly. So you are able to control, or they have scored minimally. And we need to get to the standard which is at least pass mark. So in case there's that, you check and you see majority have failed, the control process may come there. Does it mean that we are not, maybe what can be done in order to improve this performance? That is what we are saying. So the control comes in, maybe you put in more hours to maybe the cause, they can be remedials, or that those are all control. So after you measure performance, we are in step number 2. Remember, you have come up with the standard. The second step has been measuring performance. You have measured performance. So you go to step number 3, which is comparing measured performance to stated standards. I hope tuko pamoja. So the standard, like the one I've just given you, is pass mark of at least 40%. And you have seen majority of the students have scored 39%. What does that one tell you? What does that one tell you? Or it couldn't be even the budget that I gave you an example with. It is you had made a budget of 2 million, but already you are at that 2 million, or you have bypassed it, and you are not even near the end of the year. So you compare the performance against the standard. So that is what it means here. So the managers have to take measure of the organization performance. The next step is controlling, is to compare the measure against some standard, the standards that you have already set. A standard is the level of activity established to serve as a model. That is why I told you we may have different standards for different categories of job. It is a model. What you are using as a, let's say, when do you say people have performed well? Like I've given you even an example with you students, the standard could be 40%, the pass rate. But you know, there are those who get A's, and there are those now, if you are below that standard, that is when now people say you have not performed well. So the performance evaluated can be for the organization as a whole, or for some individuals working within the organization. So the issue here is comparing standard against the performance. And now, after you see the deviations, you have compared performance versus the standard, and you have seen their deviations. You have seen there's something not going right. Either you have overspent in the case of a budget, or you have underspent, or it is about student performance, and you have seen they are not performing well. What is the correct? Sorry, what do you need to do? The control process is now correcting or trying to solve out that problem so that it goes as it was planned. So if in case of corrective actions can be, in case of now that management issue, it could be training employees more. It could be maybe using a more advanced technology in order to correct that deviations. In the case maybe of the example that I've given you of students, it could be giving more tutorials to students so that to correct what you have seen, deviations. So that is what it means, taking corrective action. After actual performance has been measured, compared with established performance standard, the next step is the controlling process. The next step in controlling process is to take corrective action. If necessary, corrective action is a managerial activity. So it may involve many people in the management. Like if you have to carry out training of employees, remember that has to get approvals. So it becomes something managerial. So after taking corrective action, now the process is over. I want us to go to something else. Importance of control process. Importance of control process. So let's see some of the importance of control process. One is improving employees' motivation. How does control improve employees' motivation? Remember, a control process involves performance, measuring performance. And the measuring performance is what we call, in most cases, it's what we call in management, performance appraisal, or evaluating employees' performance. In the second stage of control is all about measuring performance, which we call in management performance appraisal. The importance of this, what happens in performance appraisal? Employees are evaluated usually against the standard, and they are given feedback. You are you may be told you need improvement, you didn't perform well, it was a poor performance, or it was an excellent performance. So how does motivation come in? First of all, no employee would like to get poor results. Just like you students, no employee would like to be evaluated and you are found to be a poor performer. So what happens in case of whereby employees are aware that their performances will be evaluated, they work so hard in order not to be given a negative feedback. Again, what comes out of performance appraisal may be other things, motivational things, like maybe after you are found to be a very good performer, there could be other rewards following, like maybe increments, it could be promotion, it could be other rewards or incentives, bonuses, and what have you. And in case there is that promise of getting a bonus after you are able maybe to meet a target of a certain amount of profit, employees will work so hard. So that is how motivation comes in. First of all, no one wants to perform poorly as an employee during the measuring of performance. Again, there are things, extrinsic motivation, or what employee expects to achieve after they become good performance, things like maybe increment, promotion, and other things that will make them work so hard. So it motivates them to work towards those targets. So that is how it comes in, improving employees' motivation. Then it takes us to, importance number 2 of control process. Another importance of control process is ensuring order and discipline. Ensuring order and in display. I don't know whether you're able to connect, especially in display and the control process. So controlling ensures a close check. Because of course, when we are in defining control, we say it is checking or regulating. Control is all about checking. It's all about checking whether things are moving towards the right direction. So it means, of course, when you check, when you keep on checking, you're ensuring there is order and discipline. Because now people, you are able to control, you are able to ensure that people are not moving out of what they are supposed to do. So hence, it helps in reducing dishonest, because now people are kept on check. When you keep people on check, you leave little room for indiscipline. Let me put it that way. When you put people on check, you leave little room for indiscipline or disorderliness. So you ensure they are always on track. So another importance of control is ensuring order and discipline because of the check that you keep on employee. So automatically they become disciplined. Another one is facilitating coordination of actions. Facilitating coordination of actions. Controlling helps in providing a common direction to all activities of different departments and effort of individual for attaining the organization objectives. So when you are controlling, is at times it's all about providing direction. It's all about ensuring that even, let's say in an organization, it has many departments, it's all about ensuring that each one of them is working towards a common goal. You coordinate activities of many departments, because also when they are moving in different directions, the organization may not be able to achieve a common goal. But if you coordinate, and control is able to facilitate that coordination, control is able to facilitate the coordination, which is very good, because when each and every department is moving towards the same goal, or rather they are not moving towards different directions, they are moving towards the same goal, it makes it easier for the organization to meet its goal. So it facilitates this coordination, which is very good to the organization. So that is another importance of control process. Let's look at more. So you have looked at 3. Let's go on. Another importance of control process is accomplishing organization goals. It helps to accomplish organization goals. Of course, this comes automatically, because if a manager is able to ensure that you have come up with the plans and the people have moved smoothly towards the achievement of those plans, then you have accomplished your goals. That is if you are able to ensure that there are no deviations or doing things outside the plan, then you are able to accomplish your goals. So controlling helps in comparing the actual performance with the standard, finding out deviations. So if you're a manager and you're able to minimize these deviations, then you are moving towards the right direction. And if there are deviations, if you are able to take the correct or the correct and better corrective measures, I remember I told you about them. It could be like training employees more. It could be using maybe a more advanced technology in order to, so that plans can go as they were. So, and if you are able to accomplish, if you are able to accomplish, first of all, plans as you had made them, then it means you are moving towards the right direction of accomplishing organizational goals. So that is another importance of control. It helps in accomplishing the organizational goals. Another importance of control process, when you do control process, and remember the control process is coming up with a standard, measuring performance, and then comparing the standard or the performance against the standard, then coming up with a corrective action. Now, remember, the first step is the standard or coming up with the standard. And I said a standard may be different for each job. Like I gave you an example of salespeople. The standard could be some units that these people are able to produce, like 10 units in a day. For maybe student, I said a standard could be, like for you, it is 40 marks, the pass rate. So that is the standard. Now, what happens when you discover the standard that you are using is, what this one is saying, judging accuracy of the standard. At times, during the control process, you may discover the standard that you are using is not correct, is not accurate. Either you need to increase those 10 units that you had set for the salesperson, or you need to reduce them. Because at times you can say 10 units, then you discover people are not even able to achieve 8. All people. So what that one can tell you then is that the standard is too high and you need to review it or to revise it. Or in other case, even it can tell you it's too low because you have set it as 10, but people are producing majority, or almost all people are producing over that. So it can help you in judging the accuracy of the standard that you are using. Another importance of control, it helps in making efficient use of resources. It helps in making efficient use of resources. Controlling, we send it checks the working of employees at each and every stage of operation. So it keeps on checking. In case it finds deviations, then the manager tries to control or to correct those deviations. Hence, it ensures effective and efficient use of all resources in an organization with the minimum wastage or spoilage. This one, we can take that example of maybe budgeting, whereby at every stage, the manager keeps on checking whether people are spending according to how they are budgeted. In case he discovers early enough that people are overspending above the budget, he keeps check on that early, and eventually is able to save a lot of wastages. And then we can conclude there is efficient use of resources. It ensures, or rather, control process ensures efficient use of resources. So those are some of importance of control process. So what I want us to go to next is essential elements of any control process. Essential elements of any control process. Any control process should have feedback. Should have feedback. Of course, what we call feedback is like when you have an issue, like you student, you take your grievances, what you expect is feedback. You have taken up your issue, maybe your grievance, you expect that grievance to be addressed. That is feedback. The same with the control. Control process has to have feedback. You have checked performance against the standard. The feedback is that corrective action that the manager is able to do in order to correct that. So feedback is the backbone of our control system, because if, for example, you are only able to, in case you see deviations, you're only able to sort out that deviation with something, what we call corrective action. You have to do something in order to take that, in order to correct whatever you have seen, errors that you have seen. Feedback is the information that managers use to correct their firm's actual performance. That is what I've just told you. So an essential element of control system is feedback. Control must be objective. Control must be objective. So the opposite, objective is something that is not influenced by personal judgment or feelings. The opposite of objective is, if someone is not objective, or if something is not objective, it is, I hope, siko class peke yangu. What is the opposite of objective? Someone to type, please. Someone to type. What is the opposite of objective? If someone is not objective, we talk of that person being subjective. Oh, yeah. Very good. Very good in Grace. We talk of someone being subjective, and subjective is a person who is always influenced by personal, maybe, feelings. Like when now you are doing measurement of performance for a person who is subjective, he will allow biasness. maybe now this person is going to measure performance according to the way you know people. So you say, like, I know Grace, so I'm going to give this performance to Grace. Or I know Kelvin, and this is what I'm going to give as performance of Kelvin. Or I hate this person, I don't like this person, so this is how I'm going to do it. So that is subjective. But when you are objective, you concentrate on the actual work, not the way you know people, or the way either you are friends or not, or whether you like a person or not. So control must be objective without any interference from your personal feelings. Control should focus on workers. So good control system always focus on workers instead of work itself. So you should, when you are checking performance, check performance of the workers, because of course workers are even the ones, not the machine, because workers of course are the ones who run these machines. Workers are the ones who run any technology that you have. So it will depend on how motivated or how skilled these workers are. So you should focus on the worker, but not the machine or anything else. So control should focus on the worker, since it's the worker who implements this system. So everybody should be able to work with them effectively. So when you are measuring performance, measure the performance of the worker, not anything else. So that is another essential of control system. Others, control must be simple to understand. Control must be simple to understand. So of course, the standard that you use should be easy. The measuring of performance should be easy. Although when I was telling you about the measuring of performance, I told you it is easier maybe to measure performances of some individuals more than the others. Like the example I gave you about a highway employee and the students. So, but it must be easy. People must know. They must know like what the standard is, or even the measurements. How did you measure my performance? Because when even we talk of performance appraisal, whereby we are measuring performances of employee, there are various methods that are employed. There are various and many methods. Some are a bit subjective, others are more objective. But we have saying it shouldn't be simple and people shouldn't be able to understand it. Also, the control system should be flexible. Flexible controls. Flexible controls. So the opposite of flexibility, even it's here, it's rigidity. So what I can say about this, flexibility, especially flexibility should come at the standard. Because here it's saying control system can often make it ineffective in extraordinary and unpredictable situations. For example, like a time like we are now, the time of pandemic, maybe the standard that were being used before the pandemic may need to be changed for some individuals. Now, because people are not able to interact that much. For example, sales people, that is just an example. Now that there's that social distancing, things have changed. And the person, if you are using the same, maybe, measure or the standard as you are using in 2019 when there was no pandemic, you may see a difference. But when we talk of flexibility, according to extraordinary and unpredictable situation, you'll be able maybe to take you may be able to take that into account and say now, since there are no that much interactions, and maybe there is curfew, I know that there's not a curfew during some hours, can we change these standards? So that is what it means, flexibility of control. Again, another essential of a good control system is prompt reporting of deviations. Usiongoje mpaka, like if you are seeing the budget is not going well, usiongoje mpaka sasa at a point when you can, of no return, or when already people have messed. Always keep on checking and keep on correcting. Keep on also applying those corrective actions, so that that is the only thing, time you can save, maybe you can save the organizational performance. So promptly reporting deviations. The element of controlling system basically requires a quick reporting of deviations and discrepancies. So it will help a lot if a manager is able to identify any deviation very fast and also maybe come up with a corrective action. If some work is not going according to the plans, relevant managers must take notice of this immediately. This is because any delay in reporting problems and taking corrective measure can lead to financial losses for a business. So especially if it is something dealing with money, you know what can really happen. The company can really be affected. The organization can really be affected in case in case the manager is not so keen to notice any deviation early, because if he notices it quite late, he may end up losing a lot of money. Because now those deviations will become larger and larger. So it's very important to be prompt. So we are through with the control. Any question, please? Control. So we can go to another function of management, which is directing. Other people call it leading. There are some people call it leading, a leader. So this is where we are going to talk also about leaders. Although we have and given you about leadership, I think I've given you an assignment. Is it you? Did I give you an assignment? So directing. Oh, okay. Okay. Ni sawa sawa. Then maybe I will give you today. So directing is activating. It's all about leadership. Directing concerns ways in which a manager influences the action of subordinates. It is the final action of the manager getting others to act after all the preparations have been completed. So it's all about leadership. So let us look at the difference between leadership and the managership. What is the difference between a manager and a leader? Are they the same? No, they are not the same. But you can be a manager and at the same time a leader. But at times you can be a leader who is not a manager. So that is what I want us to look at. So the difference is, one is a leader is a person who is able to influence others in order to pursue certain goals. So a leader is a person who is able to influence anybody. For example, even in your class, you have a leader, a class rep. So that is a leader. A manager is the one who performs the managerial functions. So a manager is only the one, he has to perform these managerial functions: planning, organizing, directing. Directing, if you realize, this is also an aspect of leadership. Directing and the controlling, which you have just looked at, and occupies a formal position in an organization. Occupies a formal. Either is a head of department, either is a general manager, is a marketing manager, is the CEO. So a manager must occupy a formal, an official position in an organization. So that is one difference of manager and the leader. Another one is that managership is a formal authority to carry out managerial functions. Managership is a formal authority to carry out managerial functions. In just the extension of the point number one, you have to carry out managerial functions, which are the ones that are up here. Leadership focuses on human interactions, influencing others. So you may find a leader is more kind of, because you'll find leaders in everywhere, especially you find them in what we call informal groups that are not necessarily formal, and those groups are there mainly for people to have some social interactions. So leadership focuses on human interactions. There's a lot of emphasis on how people relate, while management or managership is more concerned with the procedures. Look, this one is more interested in human interaction, but the manager is more concerned with the procedures and the result process. And the result process of getting things done. So where a leader, although he said a leader may not be in a formal position, is more concerned with the way people interact or human interaction, but a manager who is sent in most cases is in a formal position, you find him doing, or he has to follow procedures and also results of whichever department is ending. Other differences. Managers often refers to a position in a formal organizational structure. Managers often refers to a position in a formal organizational structure. So for a manager, he has to be somewhere in an organizational structure. You know, in an organizational structure, it's well known. For example, it can be well known that in this organization, there is a CEO. Maybe there are 3 deputy CEOs. After we go down, we find now other managers until we go down completely level, the lowest level, where we find the majority of the employees. And in many organizations, the organizational structure takes the shape of a pyramid. And this is where you can clearly see where different managers may lie. So you find managers, they occupy a position in organizational structure, the structure that I've just told you. A leader, on the other hand, can exist in both formal and informal groups, and may have no formal life. So what this one mean? Even a manager is a leader. A manager is a leader, but a leader is not a manager. Because a manager is a leader because one of the functions that a manager does is leadership. So, but a leader does not necessarily have to carry out the managership roles. So that is why I've said a leader can exist in both formal and informal groups, because we can have a leader who is a manager or a leader who is not a manager. Another difference, sorry. A manager directs people through the use of formal authority. A manager directs people through the use of formal authority. However, a leader may or may not have formal authority, but always have power. You have seen leaders, even political leaders, or even followers of politicians who call themselves leaders. They may not have even an office, but you always see them. You always see people following them around. They always have followers. A leader may not have formal authority, but always have followers. Because we said, of course, a leader may either be a manager or may not be a manager. Maybe these normal leaders that we know. Finally, we can say the scope of management is wider than that of leadership. The scope of management is wider than that of leadership. Indeed, leadership, which you are calling directing, is a subject of management. It is just one function of management. Sijui kama mmeelewa hii. We are saying management is wider than leadership because a manager has to do the function of planning, leading, which is leadership, controlling, organizing, and maybe coordinating. So is doing leading, which is leadership, and other duties. But leadership, a leader, is just a function of what the manager does. So that is what it means. The scope of management is wider than that of leadership because management has more functions, and then one of those functions is what we are calling leadership. So it is just a sub-function of management. Similarities of leadership and the management, and you can add you are going to add more of this similarities. Both the leaders and the managers have powers, and that is true. Both of them have powers. Only that now, maybe later on when we shall be looking at sources of powers, we are going to see one source of power for a leader. It could be he is getting that power from charisma that he has. For the manager, he will be getting that power from the position that he has, or legitimate, which we call legitimate power or position power. But at the end of the day, both of them have powers. Both of them are followers. Both leaders and the managers are responsible for meeting the demands of the organization and the subordinates. So both of them have to meet the demands of their followers, or the people that they are leading, or they are responsible for. So can you add some more similarities between a leader and a manager, leadership and the management? One more similarity before we go ahead. Think about that. Now let us go to characteristics of a successful leader. Characteristics of a successful leaders. One, a strong desire for task accomplishment. A successful leader must have that desire to accomplish whatever the task is there to perform, whichever. Remember, we said a leader can be a manager, or even a person who is outside the managership. So he must really ensure that he has this desire to accomplish the task that he has been given, or she. Another characteristic of a successful leader, she or he must be persistent pursuit of the organizational goals. He must persistently ensure that he is able to pursue the organizational goals that are there. If the organizational goal is to achieve or is to make profit, this leader will ensure. Persistently means even if he's not able to achieve, he keeps on putting more effort and more efforts towards the accomplishment of that target. Creativity and intelligence. A leader must be creative and intelligent, because of course he has to face many challenges. He has to encounter a lot of problems, but how does he take the organization or the people that he's leading out of those problems? At times, in most cases, he has to be quite creative so that he comes up with creative solutions. So the creativity and also intelligence is very important for a leader. Initiative. What is initiative? Initiative is having that ability to do something, being the first, having that confidence to start up something. Initiative. So you realize that this characteristic of a leader is very important. A leader is supposed to be a person who is always Yeah, very good, Grace. Both Alinda and the manager are result-oriented. I agree with you, Grace. Alinda, whichever leadership position you are having, even if it is for an informal group, you should always be result-oriented. So a leader must be initiative, always coming up with the ways. Original initiative is so being original. Coming up with original maybe means of carrying out an activity. Sorry. Other characteristics of a leader: willingness to accept behavioral consequences. So what that means, as a leader, you are likely to meet people of various, let me say, personalities. Some people are quite harsh. They may be even rebellious to rules, just the way they are. Others may be very cooperative, others very uncooperative. Remember, there's something called work stress. So if you are not a leader who is not able to accept behavioral consequences of individuals, whatever, the way people behave differently, some are cooperative, others are uncooperative, you may not hold to leadership positions. So you must be willing and also able to handle the challenge that comes, or the way people behave, and be ready even to meet or even to work with these uncooperative individuals, because behavior of individuals in work environment is quite different. Another characteristic of a leader is less likely to be affected by interpersonal stress. Still, it's from which may come out of this. Many stress may come due to the way individuals are behaving. Stress may come as a result of even the work itself. There's a lot of work to be done, so stress will develop. Stress will come out of interpersonal relationship, the way you relate maybe with your seniors or your juniors. How are they? What is the relationship? If the relationship is not very cordial, that may result to stress, because you are now not working now. You are not working towards the same goal. So a good leader is supposed to be a person who is not much affected by this stress, because of course in work environment there will be always stress. Another characteristic of a leader: ability to influence other people. A leader must have the ability to influence other people. Remember we said to influence is that we said a leader must have even followers. And we said even a manager is supposed to be a leader, because manager carries out leadership roles. But now it will be very bad, or it's all about having followers, because you must have ability. Like if you call a meeting, people are able to come. If there's an issue if even you give a direction, people are able to obey. So that is how to influence. Influence can even come out of encouraging, whereby you are able to motivate people. You are able to motivate people to help you achieve the organizational goal. But if you are not even able to motivate people, then we are talking of a successful leader. A successful leader must be able to influence people. Ability to structure social interactions. A good leader also should be a person who is able to bring people together socially. Because we said, remember, when we are looking at early development of management, I think we talked about human relations theory. Human relations theory, whereby we said, sorry, just a moment, let me change. So sorry for that, I'm back. So a leadership, importance of leadership. Okay, now from that, we can quickly go to importance of leadership so that we can end up with the types of leadership. Importance of leadership. Good leadership helps to reduce employees' dissatisfaction. Good leadership helps to reduce employees' dissatisfaction because, of course, if a leader is not like in dictatorship, is not dictatorial, is friendly, then employees will always be satisfied. Good leadership also involves the effective process of delegation. I hope you can remember what we covered in delegation last time, whereby a manager pushes some of his powers down to people below him. You delegate some of your duties. So it is good, it involves effective delegation. And if you can remember well, what we said, when you delegate duties to subordinates, you make them prepare, you make them get prepared for future positions. Leadership is moral and intellectual ability to visualize and work for what is best for the company and its employees. So leadership, it's like it is the one that determines either what the company is able to achieve, because of course the leader is the one who gives the vision of the company, is the one who gives the direction towards which the company is moving to. So it's very important to have good leadership in place. Or even it's the other one comes here. Leaders create a vision and a strategy for tomorrow. You know what a vision is? Even our university, we have a vision. What is our vision? To be a world-class University of Science and Technology. To be. That is what we are looking at. So so it makes us work towards meeting that vision, to be a world class. Yeah, a leader creates a vision. So you create a vision, something that you are moving, and dream that you want to achieve for the company. Then you come up with a strategy, because I remember talking about a strategy as a type of plan last time, and I said a strategy is a kind of plan that managers come up with in order to achieve a particular maybe project or goal. Like you want to increase the customer base. What strategy do you use in order to increase the customer base? Do you do more advertisement? Do you go giving maybe free samples of the products that you want to increase the customer base of? That is a strategy. So leaders come up with a vision and dream that employees will work to, or will move towards to, and a strategy. So that is another importance of leadership. Leadership aids extrinsic motivation. You know, there are two types of motivation. Moja inaitwa intrinsic. Intrinsic is that motivation that comes out of inside a person, and a person who has intrinsic motivation is motivated by the work itself, by things outside, things that he is not influenced by anybody. But when we talk of extrinsic motivation, is the motivation that comes out of promise of something. You are getting motivated because you know after the achievement of the goal, you are going to get something extra, maybe extra money, maybe a promotion, maybe you'll get a praise, you'll get a recognition. So leadership or leaders or managers are the ones who give extrinsic motivation, because of course they promise employees. They are the ones who promise employees, like, if you're able to achieve this, you'll get this. You'll get a promotion, you'll get a praise, or you'll get recognition. So leadership aims in extrinsic motivation. Good leadership helps to develop teamwork. You very well know nothing much can be achieved when people are not working as a team. But a good leader who is able to keep people united, a good leader who is able to make people work as a team, is able to achieve more. So good leadership is the one that helps to keep people together and to ensure that you encourage people under you to work as a team. So before we end this topic of leading, and maybe also I'll give you an assignment out of this, let us look at 3 types of leadership styles. Let us look at 3 major. There are many others, like they are the ones that we call transformative leadership and others. But we are going to look at these three. We are going to look at these three types of leadership styles. Although there are many other leadership styles, like I've said, like transformative leadership and others. So we shall start with autocratic style. Autocratic style, some people call it, in some books, you find this one being referred to as dictatorial leadership style, dictatorial. Autocratic, other people call it dictatorial. Let's see what happens in dictatorial or autocratic style. One, all authority and decision making is centered on the leader. So it's the leader who makes all the decision. It is the leader who has all the authority and he makes all the decision alone. So he makes all the decisions and exercises total control by use of reward and the punishment. So you make all the decision and there's a lot of, he will reward those who are working towards the achievement of the organization goal, but also he uses a lot of threats. For people who are not performing, you find now this kind of a leader threatening. You are going to lose your job. You find this person also using a lot of punishment and also threats. He requires conformity from his subordinate, and he always considers his decision to be superior of his subordinates. So whichever decision he makes, he doesn't expect any question. He doesn't expect. All he expects is that once he makes a decision, employees who are under him are going to follow without any questioning. So this is a dictatorial kind of style. But is there an advantage of this style? The advantage of this style is that leadership is fast, decision making is faster. Decision making is faster, but can easily cause workers dissatisfaction. That is the disadvantage. And the advantage is that now you don't need to consult many people and discuss whatever differences are there. Remember, if it is the kind of the one that you are going to next, democratic, people have to contribute and you have to argue each point. But in this case, it's the leader making the decision alone. He will give you whatever he has decided and you have to follow. So it is faster. But there's a likelihood of leaving many employees dissatisfied, especially if they are not in support of whatever decision these leaders made. Let's look at some more leadership. The second one is democratic. Other people call it participative style. So we from the one, the participative, we expect to find a lot of employee involvement in decision making, and also democracy, you know what it means. So democratic or participative style, sorry. So let's see what happens in this kind of leadership style. It seeks to obtain cooperation of workers. It seeks to obtain cooperation of workers in achieving organizational goal, by allowing them to participate in decision making. Remember, the other kind of leadership style, the dictatorial that you have just covered, the manager was making decisions alone. But in this case of participative, the manager is allowing people or employees to participate in decision making. But you should note this, it does not relieve the leader of his decision making responsibilities, but it requires that he recognizes subordinates as capable of contributing positively to decision making. It leans to manager work relations. So there's that, it's like they are working now together, the manager and the worker, because now he's allowing them to contribute even in decision making. Now there's that good relationship between a manager and the worker. And also there is a high morale. Now employees are motivated. Employees are also motivated. And when employees are motivated, it also leads to satisfaction, job satisfaction. Where job satisfaction is a situation whereby you feel you are comfortable, you are satisfied, you don't have much, let's say, you feel comfortable with the work that you are doing. And also people or employees are able to accept their decisions because they are part of those decisions. The better acceptance of decision, because first of all, they have been found to contribute to this decision making. So this is what we mean by democratic or a participative style of leadership. Although something to add here also is that although the manager allows employees to contribute in decision making, he is still the final and decides on the final decisions. He allow you, but still is in charge. The final kind of leadership style, let's look at this other leadership style. Laissez-faire style. Some people call it free range. Free range. Let's see what this kind of a leader does. This leader allows subordinates to work as they choose with the minimum interference. So this kind of a leader will, especially if you are working with the people who already know what they are doing. You are working with the trained employees. So you are not giving instructions now and then. They already know what they are supposed to be doing. So you leave them alone to achieve or to do things without much interference. But you tell me, but still, remember, there are some people who cannot work without supervision. But this kind of a leader, he assumes that since people know what they're supposed to do, let them do. So the employees are given authority to make decisions or determine a course of action. They are given goals and left on their own to achieve them. So this kind of a leader will not supervise them. You'll give them a task and then they are left alone to achieve, with the assumption that they will do it. Of course, because the leader knows they are capable, but the problem now will come. There are people who are naturally They need to be pushed. Naturally, there are people who need to be pushed. So in this style of leadership, communication flows horizontally among the group leaders. Remember now, here, there is very little supervision. It's like now people are working in their groups. So what you find is like communication within, we are calling it horizontal because it is kind of people they are communicating among themselves, the working groups or the peers, the people who are working together, the ones consulting one another or talking to one another, but not upwards. There's not like giving orders, so much giving of orders from the top to the bottom, but people are left to do the work alone. So you find the kind of communication is horizontal between people in the same level who are working together. This approach increases workers' independence and expression and forces them to function as a group. The disadvantage is that group could lack direction or control. Although now people may feel a lot of comfort by being given this freedom, but there's a danger, because I say at times there are people who cannot work without supervision, and also you may find now, if that is not there, the control, the one that we talked about, may be quite difficult. If there's no leader to check, on whether, on the performance, and measure it against the standard, then you think what you may discover very soon that things have gone out of control, because you as a leader, there's lack of leadership here. I don't know, but it's a kind of leadership anyway. But now, if I may ask, which is the best leadership style according to you? This point will guide us. As you answer me, which is the best leadership style? So let us be guided by this point. A style that is most effective depends on characteristic of the work situation. What do we mean by characteristics of the work situation? Amount of time available, nature of the subordinates. If they are subordinates you can trust, characteristic of the work situation. Are you under pressure to meet the target? In this case, you'll find leaders now applying the first style, autocratic, because they are forcing, they want to achieve, they want to achieve as much as possible within a very limited time. Although now amount of time available also will make a person to use autocratic if there's very limited time. But if you have enough time, you can allow democratic kind of leadership, whereby now people are discussing, are taking time to discuss, and they come up with you're allowing them to air their views or to be participative. Nature and the type of subordinate, this is very important, because if your subordinates are not capable, if you feel your subordinates are not qualified, there is no way you can use the third leadership style, laissez-faire, free range. You cannot leave people or subordinates who you feel have no skill to do things on their own. But in case you have trained your subordinates, you have taken them through training, and you have confidence in their the way they are, competencies, then you find this leader may just apply the free range style, the nature and the type of subordinates. What is to be accomplished? If whatever is to be accomplished is too much, I don't think you use free range. Because here you are not sure how employees are. You can't just leave employees to accomplish goals on their own. And there's a lot to be accomplished. So that is what it means. So this is what will guide leadership style. Expectations of the organization. If you as a leader, you are there and the expectations of the organizations are too high. Let's say you are under a lot of pressure to perform, you as a leader. And you know, if you are not able to produce or to perform, even that one may cost you a job. I don't see you applying free range, just leaving people to do the way they feel like, expectations. Another one is tradition of the organization. So this one will also guide you, the culture, the tradition. If the tradition was that people have been always left to achieve on their own, then maybe you may even apply the free range. If the tradition of the organization has always been democracy, you may also find yourself still doing that. So our time is, and put 2 hours. So, and we have 2 topics to cover, but short ones. I want us to look at centralization versus decentralization. And when we talk of centralization, is where top management makes own decisions and others are perceived consumers of these decisions. So on decision making and done at the top. What are the advantages of this? What are the disadvantages? So we shall quickly go through the advantages of centralization. So when all the decisions are made at the top, so that you can understand this, I'm going to use the terminology centralization and decentralization. I'm going to use the county government versus the national government. You know, county government structure came about in 2013, but before we used to be just one. But now you may find each county has its own way of doing things. What is happening now is decisions are being made at the county level, but there are also decisions that are made at the national level. That is what we are calling centralization. What is the advantage of this kind of management where all decisions are made at the central level? One advantage is that it produces uniformity of policies and actions in a centralized kind of environment. So all the decisions won't be applied uniformly, or they'll come up with a similar policy and it will be applicable to all people. Another advantage of centralization is that it utilizes the scale of the central and the specialized experts. It utilizes the scales and it utilizes the skills of the central and specialized experts. So you may find the people at the end quarter, or whereby all decisions are being made, have more competencies. That is where you may find people who are more skilled than when you push that decision making to maybe divisions or departments. Another advantage of centralization, it results in fewer risk or errors by subordinates, because now people will be making these decisions. I've said they are the people at the top there, so there's no risk of errors, or whereby you have pushed this decision making and the wrong, or people who have no idea have made the decision. It provides power and prestige for the manager, especially if these are people at the top there who are making decisions. It provides power and also prestige to them, because now they feel, when now you push this power down to people, some people feel as if some of their powers have gone with the people down. That is what you said about in delegation. But when it is at the central there, it gives these people power and prestige. There is lower cost of operation, since there's no duplication of resources. What this means, if I may give an example with the county and the central government, county and the national government, you may find now that we have 47 counties, there's a lot of duplication. We have like minister, maybe for example, minister of education at national level. Then in each of these 47 counties, we have a minister for education. So that is duplication that we are talking about. So those are the advantages. We can go to disadvantages or problems. Disadvantages of centralization. One disadvantage of centralization is that there's a lot of bureaucracy, whereby bureaucracy is whereby you have, remember bureaucracy that we covered when you are looking at early stages of management. We said there are a lot of written rules, a lot of procedures, and that is a lot of protocol to be followed. So that is the problem of centralization. If you need approval, it has to be approved by this person. It moves to another office for approval, that way. And that one is, people don't like that. Whereby these procedures or protocols, at times, it delays things, or it is tiring. Another problem of centralization is that the centralized unit may lose touch with the goals of the main user department. So decisions are being made at the top there, but the people the people who know the real problems are the people down there. So you may make decisions which may not benefit people who really experience those problems. So that is what we are saying. The people who are, because people at the department level or at a lower level, they are the implementers of decisions. So you have made a policy at the top management, but the implementers of this policy are the people at the middle level management. So you may not know exactly the problem that is being experienced, or you may make a policy that does not reflect what really should have been. There's long delays may occur before user department experiencing difficulties can be serviced, of course, due to bureaucracy. There's a lot of approvals, even before you know the problem is there, you report, then the process of maybe buying that commodity starts. So you may find a long delay. Another one, if the central unit fails, the entire company is affected. Of course, because all the decisions are being made at the top there, if the decision that was made is not good, it is going to affect the entire company. Finally, let us look at, not finally, because we have departmentalization. Let's look now at decentralization. Decentralization. And the decentralization is where decision making is pushed down to the supervisors. Decision making is pushed down to people below. So what are the advantages of this? Advantages of decentralization: they tend to make speedy decisions. So when decision making is pushed down to people down, and decision making is very fast. There is also effective supervision and the control through comparative evaluation. So it is also, it makes supervision effective, because now decision making is being done at a lower level, or at departmental level, or at division level. Other advantages: initiative is encouraged, in that people who are given responsibility have to solve problems and make decisions for themselves. So you encourage people to be creative, because now you have pushed decision making to the people down there. They have to be creative, or to come up with original ideas. So you kind of encourage creativity in the people down there. By allowing staff at lower level of the organization to make decisions, their job become more stimulating. So it's like a motivating factor to allow or to push decision making to the people down there. It stimulates them, it motivates them. It's just like what we said about delegation. If employees down there have been delegated duties, it prepares them, or they feel motivated. So the same thing here. Another advantage: when we break down an organization into parts and the levels, and then give them authority, it is easy to assess how well these levels and the parts are performing. So it is easier even to do what we are calling performance appraisal. It will be easier to know, like, which department is doing very well, which one needs improvement. When decision making is allocated to the lower levels, employees learn problems which are encountered when making decisions, and they are thus prepared for the promotion. So it's just like what we said about delegation. It prepares, because now employees are used to making decisions, it prepares them for even future duties. Disadvantages: possibility of duplication of efforts. Remember the example I gave you, like in county, education minister at the top of national government, and then each of the counties having their own, maybe education minister. Duplication. So there's a lot of duplication of efforts, and that is, it increases the cost. Another one is that you'll find each of those departments, there will be no uniformity of policies. And that is why, if I may give an example, you may find different employees in different counties getting even different salaries. It is due to lack of uniformity of policies. You may be a nurse at a certain county, you are getting less money. But if the decision was made at the top there, then you find you are all uniformly treated, or you are all uniformly earning the same salary. So there's lack of uniformity of policies. More risk in case managers are incompetent and they make the wrong decision. Remember, now you have pushed decision making to the people down there, and there's a possibility these people are not qualified and they may end up making the wrong decisions, which may have a very bad effect on the organization. Another disadvantage, top-level administration may feel it would increase their status. It's what I was saying you. Now you delegate the decision-making process, and you feel now it's like these people have gone with some of your powers. So you may find now these top people may feel like their powers have been decreased, or even their status. That is another disadvantage. And finally, it increases cost. That comes out of duplication of resources. There's increased cost as managers, more managers, and the large staff. That comes, if you can remember the example I've given you. So this is what I want us to cover today. The last thing, departmentalization. This is our last and my last presentation. So where it comes from the word department. It is the basis. It's all about putting an organization into departments. But how do you put an organization into departments? We are going to look at forms of departmentizing. Other people call it basis. If you see the one basis of departmentization or forms of departmentization. So one form or basis of departmentization is functional. Functional is where departments are done according to the functions done. For example, if the functions done in that department is marketing, you call that department marketing department. If the functions being carried out in that department is human resource or it's finance, you call that department finance department. So one form of departmentizing is functional departmentization, and it is done according to functions that are being done in that department. Then another way of departmentizing is according to the product being the product that is being handled by that department. It is called product departmentization. For example, if you are handling plastic, you call that department plastic department. If you are handling chemical products, you call that chemical department. Let's look at some more bases. Territorial or geographical departmentization. And this is done, activities are divided into zones. Activities are divided into zones, divisions, and branches. E.g. Mount Kenya, Western. So this, you'll find this kind of departmentization. I'm going to give you an example of a company of a product that is done this way in Kenya. I know many beauty products, they use this kind of departmentization. I know also a company by name Coca-Cola company uses this kind of departmentizing. Like us here in Meru, we are in a region called Mount Kenya region. You find those in Mombasa are in a region called Coastal region. Those in Western region and Nairobi region, I think there's also Rift Valley region, that way. So territorial. Some companies use territories on geographical regions. Another way of departmentizing is called process or equipment departmentization. And this is a situation where either you use a process, like a process, there's a process, like even a process of, we can talk of a process of making chapati. You start somewhere until that time you have your full chapati. The equipment, we can also departmentize using the equipment that are in that department. For example, we can use a department like computer department because the equipment being used there are computer. We can have automotive department because in that department you'll find automobiles. We can have electronic department because in that department you find electronics. So a process, I've given an example here of a process, something that is step by step. In G, a printing press may have a department of composing. So there are those people who are composing that document are in that department. Others will be proofreading, and they will be in proofreading department, while others are binding, and they can be put in a binding department, a process. So each process, as it can make a department. Each stage of process makes a department. Then we have another base of departmentizing as time. We can also use time as a basis of departmentizing. For example, you may find there are companies that operate 24 hours, and you can divide those 24 hours either into 3 departments. Those who are working in the morning shift, others are working maybe in the afternoon shift, and then the others who are working in the night shift. So if you work, you can say, I'm in the night shift, I'm in the morning shift, I'm in the afternoon shift. So that can be used as a basis, the time, especially for the companies that work 24 hours. Time can be used as a basis of departmentizing. Then finally, we can have customer departmentalization, whereby you are using the types of customers as the base of departmentizing. You may find this especially in, I've given an example with the banks, which may have different categories of customers. For example, it could have a section that serves specifically students, and that is called student customers. Then it have another section where it is only serving corporate customers. And then maybe there's another section of ordinary customers, although they may not write it, but if you go the normal customers, and it is the one with the many people, then that is another kind, but it's another way of departmentizing, using customer as a base. Finally, I think that this is the last slide. The last 2 slides, I want us to look at the importance of departmentizing, on putting things into departments. What is the importance of having departments? One importance of having departments is specialization is easy. Specialization is easy. They enable an enterprise to take advantage of specialization. when especially if you have departmentized using functional assemblies, whereby, like we said, people who are doing HR, they're in the same department. People who are doing computer-related things, they're in ICT department, that way. So if that is the way, then it allows specialization and also division of work. Another importance of departmentalization is that it allows expansion. Expansion, I remember we said there's expansion and also diversification, but I'm going to concentrate on expansion, which is growth. When you departmentize, it is easier for a company to grow because, first of all, when you departmentize, you can easily, everything becomes easier. Planning, organizing becomes easier, even control becomes easier, and it is now what it means, it is even easier to grow. Autonomy is freedom. Departmentizing leads to freedom. It leads to freedom because the hands of those departments, they are leaders on their own. They are like bosses on their own, and it gives them that prestige to be leaders, or it's like they are leaders on those units. So the result of division of enterprise into semi-autonomous unit. In this unit, each manager is given adequate freedom. That freedom gives them prestige. The feeling of autonomy provides job satisfaction and the motivation, which in turn leads to higher efficiency in work. So it makes them more motivated because of that freedom, autonomy. Fixation of responsibility, of course, is to say when work is divided into departments, it makes it easier to allocate tasks. It makes it easier even to know, even it enables each person to know the specific part he is to play in an organization. You know what your role is in an organization. Even it's easy to know who is not doing well. So it provides a basis of building loyalty and the commitment. An individual can be held accountable for performance. You can easily say, you and Dennis, you are the one who was supposed to do this. You are the one who was given this responsibility. It is in the overall, maybe HR department. Then, since each due to functional departmentization, and each person is having a role, you can easily know the person who has not done his duty properly, and you are accountable. In case an error happens also, you can easily trace where it came from. Oh, that is the last line. I think there's something that is missing. I'll check, because there's something about also, it is easy. I think there's one slide that is missing, because also I think it is easy to appraise employee when they are in departments. Appraisal becomes easier. Performance appraisal, the one that we are calling measuring performance. It is easy to measure performance when people are put into departments. And also, so checking the performances of employee is easier. So I'll include that. I will check on that slide before I post these notes in the LMS. So unless there's a question for the assignment, I'll come with it later, but I think it's something related to leadership. Leadership styles, not leadership styles, theories of leadership. I'll give it to the class rep. I'll give it to the class rep. And are you people around the school now? Are you back? Are you back?